Welcome to the Exhorter Podcast, where we aim to stir up love and good works through bite-sized biblical discussion. Today, Kyle, you've got our topic. Take it away, my friend.
Actually, this is the last topic.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we're done.
After this?
It's a wrap.
It's been a good run.
It's been a good run.
We're going out as number 57.
Number 57 in the state. Done. Woo! Now, I think that we'll end up wrapping the season with this episode, which just is great because it leads us into summer here. And we'll work over the summer on some new episodes to come back in the fall and start up another season.
Let's not get their hopes up too high. The season divisions seem kind of arbitrary and made up anyway. So
they were just kind of
take it with a grain of salt.
Welcome to the Exhorter Podcast, where everything's made up and the seasons don't matter.
Hey, so today we're going to talk about summer vacation.
Well, there you go.
Right? Because we're about to go on summer vacation as a podcast, and
I'm a teacher.
Yeah. So for all you teachers out there, you got a little break coming up, and for all you kids out there, which I know that's a large part of our demographic is the teens and children. We're wildly popular with teenagers. But you're going to be out of school for the next couple of months, next several weeks here. And maybe your parents, that's probably more our demographic, is parents with young kids of school age. You're going to have to manage children at home for those that send them to public school. And even us who homeschool, we're taking a break from school. So that changes our routine. What do you guys remember? What's your highlights of summer break? What was that like for you guys growing up?
Boring. Seriously, yeah. I mean, I remember it was cool for like the first 3 hours of the day. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? This is dumb.
Huh.
That's how it was.
Sad childhood right there.
Yeah. Well, it was only a sad summer. Okay. The other 9 months of the year were great.
Did you not have chores or like a job for money or something?
No. Oh, football. I remember it was all dreading football. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I did like 3 to 4 weeks of basketball camps every summer until high school when I didn't make the freshman team and realized I wasn't really that good at basketball.
Yeah.
And I looked back at all those summers and said, it was wasted.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that you recognized that then. I don't have to tell you that now.
I rode my BMX bike literally hundreds of miles for like 3 summers.
Yeah, I feel like that. It was like the
save the trash talking for the court, Bradford.
You just let that go. I feel like it was
get us a key to the gym at Clovis High School.
I think volleyball will start soon. I feel like it was Goonies all the time. Like it was just a bunch of us kids. Bikes were in the yard, and we just traveled around from house to house, and the days were super long, and we had lots of sleepovers and stuff like that. But it was a little drawn out.
I can kind of think of phases of my life. My childhood, like early years, was like what you just described. Growing up in Washington, we were in a neighborhood that was not finished being built. So there were still large patches of wooded areas with trails. And so it was just exploring, picking huckleberries, riding bikes, and building forts. With all the houses under construction, there were always scrap piles. And I'd take my Red Ryder wagon and fill it up with scraps of wood and try to build a house that, playhouse that resembled more like a dog house and nails sticking out.
Sounds like more like Little Rascals than Goonies.
You had a BB gun maker that made a wagon?
Isn't it a Red Ryder wagon?
Red Ryder wagon. If you're
Radio Flyer.
Radio
Flyer wagon. Red Ryder was
I was like, all right, this is a military wagon.
Was the Christmas.
It was the assault wagon.
Turret.
But as I got older, like as a teenager, I got more interested in sleep. And so I had basketball camps. And I feel like my childhood was great because I was outdoors all the time. And then my early teens were kind of wasted because I would sleep in till 11 to 11:30. I could sleep in really late as a teenager. And, my parents would have me do some chores and there was some summer camps. Like I did a faith-based summer camp that was really good and encouraging. I did that every year, but there was a lot of missed opportunity. But then as I got a little older, once I got my driver's license, I worked a lot during summer, made some money. I had a lot more chores outside that my parents had me do. And we'll talk about some other things I did that I think went really well. But summer is definitely, it's a weird time when you're a kid. because your routine is completely thrown out the window. And it's a weird time as a parent because, again, that routine, get your kids up in the morning, get them ready to go, send them off on the bus. You get some time to do things you need to do. And then they come home in the evening, and then it's sports practice or band concerts or, Bible class. There's all kinds of things in the evenings. And summer is just, we're going to go to the beach for a week. We're going to go camping. We're going on trips. We've got time. There's no routines in the morning. And it's an odd time. And it can be easy with no routine and whatever routine you had being thrown off to kind of lose God in the mix during summer. And that's what I want to gear this episode towards today, is just a discussion amongst the three of us, how we can approach summer. We're all parents of school-age kids. Nate's a teacher himself, so this has a big impact on him. How can we approach summer with the right attitude to get the most out of it and not let God get lost in the chaos of summer? Now, I think it's important to note that a scripture like Mark chapter 6 reminds us that breaks and times of rest are a good thing. So in Mark chapter 6, we note the context. John the Baptist was just beheaded, and it was probably very risky for the disciples to go and recover his body and bury it. I don't know what that entails, but that sounds risky. It was a very stressful time with John just being killed. And then in Mark chapter 6, and verse 31, Jesus said, "Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest for a while. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. So they departed to a deserted place in the boat by themselves." Jesus acknowledged, we're just busy right now. It's a high stress time. John was just killed. Let's just go somewhere alone, deserted, away from the crowds, and just rest for a little bit. So periods of rest are good, but I think in our culture and our society, we look at what should be a time of rest and relaxation as an opportunity to go, and just fill up our schedules in that void that used to be school.
Yeah, I think it's either one or the other. I think that summers are either every inch, every moment planned out, or nothing's planned and it's just this open time, which would potentially be some problems too when you just you're seeing the opportunity of all this time and you're not necessarily planning for it. But I mean, this is something we all deal with. I don't know if there's a church out there, maybe any of our listeners go to, that doesn't dip in the summer, like a natural dip in attendance on Sundays and Wednesdays. And sometimes we'll have more visitors because they'll be traveling from different areas, but it doesn't cancel out. Like it doesn't cancel out. A lot of people will leave for different times and take trips, and that's natural. People will do that.
Yeah, and it's just a time of year where we're all thinking that. So just a lot of our trips overlap this time of year, so you notice it more. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. It's nothing wrong with going on vacations, going on trips. But we would just want to make sure that we don't fill up our time so much. We're told on the one hand, the scripture I just read, that resting is a good thing, but also we balance that with other scriptures like Ephesians 5, where make the most of your time, make the best use of your time, or redeem the time. And so I want to suggest 3 areas, and then I want to get your guys' feedback in each of these 3 categories. Some goals or targets we can have. And this episode is directed specifically really to everyone, but more specifically to parents who have kids that are on summer break, or to teens. I know we probably don't get a ton of teens listening, but if you are a teenager listening, you're old enough. If you're listening, then you're definitely old enough to be thinking about how you want to direct your steps and making some choices for yourself about directing your life in a godly way. So that's primarily our target audience this week is those who have kids that are on school break, or if you're old enough and you're still a student, maybe even a college student, you're on summer break. How do we get the most out of that? So the 3 areas or 3 targets I want to specify is that we can look at summer. We're on break from school. It is a little chaotic. We're not under routine, but we're on break from school. In between all the trips we're planning and things we want to do, let's focus on connecting with God, connecting with God's people, and connecting with God's creation. So when it comes to connecting with God, we're all fathers here with children that we're trying to raise in the right way. What are some things you could think of that you could prioritize, and how would you want to execute that over summer break with how we can help our kids firstly connect with God.
Heard of some looking for weekly Bible studies that they want to start during the summer. You have a little bit more time. Maybe you can do them during the daytime, or kids can do them when you're not around, and you can talk over the dinner table later on that night, So finding more ways to keep the kids entertained by having them study and focus on godly things. I've heard there's been some interest in looking for materials and things like that.
I had the thought the other day of you got 6-8 weeks over the summer where don't have any commitments as a teacher, maybe having a Bible study like at our house one evening a week, since we don't have other things going on. So, and then just spending more time in the Bible. Like, I wish I could say I spent more time in the Bible. I mean, it usually amounts to about 15 minutes a day in the morning of reading, and then a little bit less than that of prayer. And I think I could probably double that pretty easily if I really wanted to, if I focus on it. If I'm not focused on it, it's not going to happen. So,
yeah, I kind of look at my teenage years of sleeping in till 11 in the morning as I'd like to have those back. And I know better than to live in the past. Right. So there's things everyone would look back in their life and do differently. And I look at that as a missed opportunity. Yeah, if you want to sleep in a little later, that's fine. But just because you're not going to school, I think there's something valuable about still waking up at the same time every morning. Summer, okay, if you want to sleep in an extra hour from school, that's fine. But be on a schedule still.
Yeah.
And those 2 or 3 extra hours I was sleeping in, I could have slept in 1 extra hour than normal and then had an hour or two to wake up and do a little reading, do a little meditation. That's something that we can teach our children how to do that.
I think that's a good idea. Make the kids hate summer, like jam pack it full of chores and outside things, and just like make them go, I can't wait till school starts. And, like that's a good idea. I think maybe I'll.
Well,
that's what I got from that.
I think you've missed the point, John.
I try to think about kids sleeping till 11. I'm like, no, in the yard when it's cool.
Yeah, you can still let them sleep in a little bit. You don't have to wake them up at the crack of dawn. But you can a little of both. Like I said, rest is good, but within reason. So I think there's definitely ways where we can emphasize this. Sometimes when it comes to Bible class, we've all had our turn at this church teaching middle school and high school Bible classes here. And I don't know what your guys' expectation is about if we're studying through a book. Like, John, I know you're teaching Ecclesiastes to the high schoolers right now. And what
they said I couldn't do it over a whole semester, but we're only in chapter 7.
Yeah. What's the expectation of your kids actually reading the text of Ecclesiastes? I'd like to think that all the kids, that I've got in my Bible class are reading the text. And as we go through a book of the Bible, they're reading it each week and thinking about it. But maybe they've got too much homework. Maybe they've got too many school-related activities going on. Summer is a good time to, as parents, maybe you aren't as involved as maybe you ought to be with what they're learning in Bible class. Bible class at church, Sundays, Wednesdays for a lot of churches, those are great opportunities. But parents, you can't outsource the raising of your children, even to the church, even to people in the church. So look at Bible class as a good opportunity, but take advantage of it. Get more involved. What are they studying on Sundays? What are they studying on Wednesdays? And if you're wondering, like John brought up the idea of a weekly devotional or weekly Bible study, but people are looking for good material, how about just see what they're learning on Sundays and then pick a day, 20 minutes. We're just going to go through that text so that when they, like on Thursdays or Fridays, we look at the text they're going to be studying in class on Sunday, and we go through it so they come to class having already looked at the text, and it'll really impress their teachers, and it'll improve the quality of the dialogue that happens in class. Maybe even help them think of what are some questions you have, write them down, and be ready to ask your teacher on Sunday. And just, that can be an easy way. Just look at what they're studying in class and make that your weekly devotional.
Well, that's a great idea.
No, I think that's a great idea. And honestly, let's say that you've you've tried your best maybe to do the Bible in a year type thing, and the reading, and by the summer you haven't fulfilled it. They have some really great Bible in 40-day things that you could within 2 months of what
Bible in 40 days.
Yeah,
I've heard of New Testament in 40 days.
No, it's like Bible in 40 days. It's like a study book. Maybe they don't hit every single. Yeah. But maybe it's more of a synopsis. But Kyle, what was the stats you told me before about reading the Bible in a week? How long would it take? Do you remember?
2 hours a day.
Not off the top of my head.
I thought you said something like it's basically you can read the whole Bible in.
I've got a program. It's called the Bible in a Year in 18 months.
Bible in a year in 18 months. Do you remember what
the plan that I'm on?
How long it would? I have to Google this now. How long it would take you to read the Bible?
It would take a lot. It would take a full week, 128 hours.
Well, just look up how long a recording. That's what I did. I think it's like 17 hours for the New Testament.
It's like 65 to 75 hours
of reading.
Yeah, so it's 15 minutes a day for a year.
Well, and
yeah,
even if it's not
reading in a year,
even if you're managing your goals, we don't have to think too big or ambitious about this. I think it's just trying to keep God at the center of our family.
Yeah.
What if all it was just you were going to read a chapter a day, and it was every 10 verses. Now, if you have a little bit older kids that are good readers, this is a good idea. If you have little kids, maybe not. But just go around the family. Everyone's Bible is open, and that's what you do as your bed night routine. Everyone gathers together, TV's off, and we're going to read Matthew chapter 5. That's where we're at. Every 10 verses, it goes to the next person. They take a turn. I mean, these are just simple ideas. You look at that and think, well, that's not going to make a big difference. I would argue that, yes, it does. It's a difference that you won't see immediately, but small changes consistently. If that's what you do all throughout summer, you're getting your kids accustomed to reading the Bible. Will they remember everything they read? Will you read the entire Bible over the summer? Probably not. But I think the bigger picture is you're teaching them. It's like when my dad would tell me, pick up the soda cans in Oregon. I see one on the side of the street. Oh, we'll go pick that up. I'd pile them up, and by the end of the summer, I might have $10 or $12 because you get a nickel a piece. My dad's not telling me that, Kyle, you're going to be rich picking up, but he is teaching me a lesson about there's money everywhere if you just look for it and do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
So it's a valuable lesson, even though I'm not going to get rich from picking up soda cans. And it's the same thing. You're teaching your kids that it's okay. You can work that into your routine, and it normalizes carving out a chunk of time to read the Bible. Yeah. So it's just setting good habits and good patterns. And I can't say enough about prayer. Praying as a family, pray every meal. I get sometimes you're in a restaurant, it's loud, it's chaotic, it's crazy, no one can hear. But when you're at home, pray over every meal and have your kids say a prayer. Sometimes ask them, what should we be praying for? Involve them. If they're not the ones saying the prayer, ask them, what can we pray for? Have them suggest at least one thing to pray for if they're not the ones leading a prayer. So just a way of involving them. So I can't say enough about incorporating prayer into your summers as well. Before you go on a road trip, work this into your summer vacation too. Before you go on a road trip, before you turn on the car, before you get the radio fired up, before they get their tablets out, we're going to say a prayer before we hit the road.
Yep.
So just every chance you can get, work prayer into your summer.
Like for me as a teacher, summer is obviously less stressful because I'm not teaching. But I remember when I worked in the private world, that summers were usually a little bit easier also because everybody's going on vacations and the bosses were going on vacations. And so it was a little less hectic. So maybe summer's a good time to just refocus on being intentional with our time with God and the discussions we have with our kids about God and prayer, just becoming more intentional with that since maybe you've got a little bit more mental bandwidth.
Well, let's shift our focus now to talking about connecting with God's people. How can we emphasize connecting with God's people? John, I assume you're going to want to talk about VBS right now.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. I mean, honestly, I put a list on the foyer bulletin board this morning of all the events. And I even added like our second Sunday sings, the devotionals, and the fifth Sundays. And we have a lot of things over the summer that we're doing, between now and I'd say September, we have a lot of things. So, I think it's I think it's good for us in congregations who are, planning different devotionals and things to provide more opportunities in the summer and opportunities that people can do things. So VBS is obviously one of those. And I was counting up the other day that it was basically what was my email? It was 18 weeks of basically in 1 week of VBS, a kid gets the same amount of instruction as they do a third of the year in just a 45-minute Bible class.
Yeah.
So it's talking about like jam-packed into a week. So if you feel like your kids could use more Bible study, I mean, that's an amazing opportunity to give it in a saturated environment with lots of kids and a lot of fun and a lot of enthusiasm. And they get a lot of learning, in that week. And they're always coming home being so excited about what they learned and telling you from my 5-year-old all the way up to 12-year-old. So
if you send your kids to VBS, when they get back, ask them, well, it's still fresh on their mind. What did you do today?
Yeah.
Tell me what you learned. Tell me the things you did. Get that reinforcement.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that I think teenage Kyle actually did a pretty decent job at. Once I got my driver's license, every Sunday night, pretty much in the summer, every Sunday night, I would go visit another church. And I was making friends at all these different churches. Friends I made at summer camp. I wanted to go see them. I'd go there. I went to Canby. There was a church in Canby. It was about 30, 40 minutes away from me. And I had friends there that they would pretty much let me sleep over any Sunday night I was there since I didn't have school in the morning. And so there were 3 or 4 churches I'd like to visit. And so I like to go when churches had gospel meetings, when there was a youth lectureship at the 160th Avenue Church in Gresham. I went there. And so I was taking every chance I could to go visit. I think that's such a good thing too. When you're on vacation, put a little thought into, if we're gone over a weekend, what church are we going to visit?
Yep. Yeah.
Because it's not just, and it's more than just a duty or obligation. I don't think we should look at church that way, that you are required to go every Sunday. You might look at it that way, but look at it also as a chance to meet other Christians. Meeting other Christians, other people that share your faith, is always a rewarding experience.
So every summer, Ashley and I, our whole family, we go up to my hometown, Reading, and we spend almost a week there. And one of the highlights of that week is going to church. And there's a couple there who we're very close friends with, and we go hang out at their little farm and, walk around and play with the turkey and hop on the mini horse, and the girls have a blast. And it's just like, it's so fantastic. And I love them so much. And I see them once a year for a day. But it summertime is a great opportunity to connect with them and just to be reminded of how valuable that those friendships are, that relationship is with, connecting with God's people.
And I think even locally, when we look at our own church family right here, wherever you live, whatever church you're a part of, there are opportunities where you can take your kids and get them involved. Do yard work. I know, again, John, I can see John's expression just saying, "Oh, you're trying to ruin the fun of summer." Well,
no, I'm going to rent my kids out. Are you kidding me? That's a great idea.
Just again, if I take my kids, they're old enough. We make them pull weeds for extra Disney spending money, and so they're old enough to pull weeds. They don't always get the roots, but are they really making a difference?
They pull the flowers off the top.
Yeah. We take them to someone's house, say, we got someone, an older member at church that can't do yard work like they used to. And I bring my girls, and I'm going to be the one that's actually getting stuff done. Are they going to make a difference? Are they going to pull like an entire yard worth of weeds? No. But is it teaching them a valuable lesson about serving and prioritizing others?
I'm going to have my kids, Jim, pick up his grandkids here and bring him to the building and clean the building with them during the week. That's a good idea.
Well, I think what you're getting at, Kyle, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but it's just being more intentional about bringing God into your family and with your kids, and bringing them into that, and taking that opportunity to serve others, because there's more time to do it.
Because I remember being dragged, in my mind, I would say I was dragged along to help people move before I was, the big, strong ox that I am today.
Yeah.
I wasn't really useful, but I was dragged along, and I'd be given, here, carry this lamp. Yeah. You can carry this lamp. I was like, well, I'm not helping much, but I remember from pretty early on, things like that, doing yard work at people's house. I remember doing things for people, even when I wasn't that useful. And as I got older, I'd start to pull my weight more, but I think that was just my parents' way of ingraining that into my thinking, that this is what we do. We go and help people, and you're going to be part of that. And so I didn't really have a choice. And there's even simpler things you can do too. We got, in any church, you're probably going to have some folks that can't get out of the house much. They don't drive anymore. We're talking about older folks. And I've learned that people are often afraid of, like, I don't know what to say. How do you carry on a conversation? Well, what are we going to talk about? It's going to be awkward. And if you have kids, bring your kids. And
you'll always have something to talk about.
Just let them entertain for a few minutes. And most of these people, they're looking at your kids as their stand-in grandkids, and they just love having someone in their home. Well, you don't have to do, I'm just trying to say, you don't have to plan it out or do anything special. No. These people just want someone in their house.
Yeah.
Take your kids to do that.
And even if you don't have kids to be the entertainment when you go visit, just like be genuinely interested in the person you're visiting, and you'll have plenty to talk about.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the people you're going to be visiting are probably older, and they probably have an entire lifetime of stories to tell. And if you show interest in them, they will tell them. And you might actually find that you really are interested in them.
Generally, you ask a question and then you say, tell me more about that. Like, just that.
There's going to be 1,000
questions. You ask that question.
Have you
degree. Tell me more about that.
There's going to be 1,000 pictures hanging on their wall. That's something that millennials don't do. We don't hang pictures up on the wall of ourselves very often. Mm-hmm. There's going to be 1,000 pictures up on their wall. Just look at them and start asking questions.
Oh, yeah. And they will feel like you are the best conversationalist ever. And all you did was say, oh, tell me about that picture.
You know, this kind of got me thinking a little bit about something else too. A lot of times we think about the summers as opportunities to take our kids out, do vacations, get away. There's a certain amount of people in our congregation whose summers are the same as the
rest.
And we just talked about them. Mm-hmm. There's some older people. There's some shut-ins. Nothing changes except for there's less people around. And I kind of then think about that now a little bit differently. Maybe you're right, Kyle. Maybe use the summers as opportunities to fill in the gaps. There's a lot of older people, maybe widows, people who just don't go anywhere for vacations. And so their summer is then just that much empty. And it kind of makes me think, well, maybe there's someone to focus on and to try to remember. You know, one thing I was thinking about too, I don't know where you are in your topics there, but I was thinking about Hebrews 10.
24 and 25.
So I was thinking about Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. Let us consider how to stir up one another in love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, but as the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. The thing though is are we supposed to? What are we supposed to be taking breaks from? I love taking breaks from work.
Don't you have to do work in the first place in order to take a break from it?
Hush. I actually do. I love taking breaks from work, but as I'm kind of getting subtextually with this conversation here is don't take a break from God, but also if we're supposed to be doing something continually, like encouraging one another and lifting one another, and then a theme for this year, seek ye first, mm-hmm. If we're supposed to be doing that all the time, is the summer an opportunity to increase in that or to take a break off that as well? And so you can't encourage one another if you're not around. I'm not saying don't take vacations, but be more mindful that the summer is not the time to pull back.
How long of a rest do you need? Right? Okay.
So
how long of a rest do you need? When I'm on vacation for a week, like I'm ready to go home. 10 days and I'm like, please, I want my bed. Like I am done resting. Let me get back to something productive.
3 days in Disneyland, 5 days in camping. I'm done.
5 days of camping.
That's amazing, right?
You're insane.
Yeah, I know,
You're insane. That's a long time.
Well, I haven't done 5 days with my kids.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. But it's like when Jesus rested, how long did he rest for? I don't think it was like weeks at a time or months at a time. I think it was like, a few days maybe or a night. I don't know. In any case, I don't think we need 3 months to rest. So go on vacation and kind of take a break from things. And, but when you come back, get after it.
And I don't think we're trying to guilt anyone into for taking vacations and stuff.
Not intentionally, at least.
Speak for yourself. John, yeah.
But I think that it is. I never like summers when I don't like the heat.
Oh yeah,
I'm a ginger. I feel the heat twice as much, and so I love the cold weather. I like my sweaters. Don't get mad at me for wearing my sweaters in June.
Fresno in the summer is like that level of Super Mario Brothers 3 where the sun chases you and tries to kill you.
It does.
That's what it feels like.
I've never been big on the summer. So I never looked at the summer as an amazing opportunity to actually have the time to do all the things I never had to do before. Because I find there's very little time to do all the things I want to do. A lot of times that's the kids. You know how much time the kids spend on their homework you don't yet, but
Kyle and I won't know that.
I know. Yeah.
You beat me by half a second.
My kids will spend so much time on homework. Sometimes I'm just like, I just want to hang out. I just want to hang out with my kids tonight. Right. Like I just want you to, man, can you get your homework done so we can watch a movie tonight as a family? That's called summer. Like, maybe start in the home, develop, more closeness and opportunities to do things with your family at home, and then see how you can extend that to members of your home church family.
So this conversation is really getting me thinking about like my summer, and Ashley and I have planned some things out. Like, we want to go here, we want to do this and that, but really setting some goals for the summer because we will have extra time. How do we want to spend that time? And this is reminding me, like, how can we serve God with that time? Make that.
See, I've at least made one person think about how they're spending their summer. Mission accomplished. Well, moving along to the last point of emphasis I had, and I think this will probably be the most brief because there isn't a lot of depth to it, but I think it is an important concept to at least put out there.
I like this one. No, I mean, I read ahead.
Learning to enjoy God's creation and connecting with God's creation. Yeah. Just a simple text like Psalm 19 and verse 1. There's many like this, but I think this is probably the most recognizable. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. Just looking at creation, we spend a lot of our time going to cities and man-made events and looking at all the things man has created, when I think it's important to, if we're going to get away, Jesus went to a deserted place. He went to a quiet place. There's something very powerful about that. And I know my dad had very high stress jobs, worked a lot of hours, especially during the tax deadlines. He was an accountant, and he'd work 50, 60, 70-hour weeks sometimes, near the deadlines. So I know he didn't get a lot of vacation time, but every summer we'd always get a 3-day, 2-night backpacking trip every summer of my childhood. And it was usually we'd pick a mountain peak in the Cascades, go in, next day climb it, and then spend another night and come back. And I just remember seeing things I'd never seen in my life before. Glaciers, at night, being away from the cities, you can actually see the stars. Back then, it was cool to see satellites floating by. Now it's like the sky is filled with them. It's all the people spying on us from different governments. But it was just incredible to go out there to see wildlife, to see beautiful things created by God that man didn't do.
Amen.
And I have this specific moment where I don't know why, I was standing in a glacial lake as a young teenager, and I just started singing Amazing Grace. That's probably one of the few songs I had memorized, but just something about that moment connected me and made me just think about God.
Yep.
And so I guess I'm trying to say, take a hike.
Did he just find scriptural
grounds
for
backpacking?
Backpack.
Well, and I've always told people as I preach that the
Taylor,
festival,
please listen to this.
Isn't that how the Israelites lived?
The Festival of Booths, I've always told people, is my favorite of the Jewish holidays. Everyone should spend a week of the year living in a tent.
Yeah.
It's biblical.
Come over to my place.
Prescribed by God.
I got a fireplace ring too.
I know.
Yeah. No, so Kyle, what you're talking about when you said there was like a moment you had in nature in this glacial lake.
Zero technology, zero distractions.
Oh, yeah. Been there.
My mind goes to God.
100%. I have been in a glacial lake. It was fantastic. No, but I had a moment similar to that where I was hiking in the Sierras, and I was solo hiking, and I could hear nothing but the wind in the trees. And I was up on the top of a ridge and, had climbed some precarious stuff to get there. And I just remember thinking like, there is only one person who knows anything about what's going on here besides me, and that's God. And I just felt so like, wow, in the presence of this is dangerous, but also this is awesome. And I love that feeling, and I totally get it. And now I know why John Muir said the mountains are calling and I must go. Standing in ankle deep in the ocean, it gives you that same feeling of smallness,
vastness,
but also a reminder that as small as you are compared to the world or the universe, I mean, when you see all the stars, when you get away from the light pollution from a major city, it reminds you how incredibly minute and many atheists would argue insignificant we are compared to the vastness of the galaxy. But it just highlights to me that all of that is God's handiwork, but I am made in his image. And so just take your kids outside for a day hike. If you're not an overnighter, if you're not the kind of person that likes carrying everything in on your back and roughing it and digging up a hole and burying, if that's not you, that's fine. But just, you can take day trips. Yeah. Just take your kids somewhere or just go yourself.
Yeah.
And just, if you want some rest in a quiet place, you're not going to find it in a city.
You're going to find it between two trees in the middle of nowhere with your hammock.
Yeah. So I didn't have anything more profound than just get outside or at the very least, late summer nights. I will admit, I hate everything about the summer heat except the warm summer nights are pretty cool. And that was kind of an oxymoron there. Yeah. Go for walks as a family. Go for an evening walk. Go outside with your kids.
No, seriously, oh my goodness, there are so many valuable things about just walking outside together. That has made a huge difference in my wife and my relationship. And then just as a family, being outside and enjoying time together. That's great. That's a great idea when it's not 117.
Everyone should just go for a walk on their trail through their orchard every night.
Why don't you do?
Mine is a lot shorter.
Orchards?
Mine is a lot shorter than yours. Trails in the orchard.
Well, summer is definitely a time of the year to look forward to and enjoy. I hope you guys will make the most of it. I hope you'll keep God, as always, at the center of your life. As mothers, as fathers, as parents, be mindful of how we are raising our children to keep God as the number one priority in their life. And it is our hope that you will make an effort to focus on your relationship with God, your relationship with other Christians, and considering the vastness and beauty of this creation and using that as a teachable moment for your children.
Kyle, thank you for that topic. It was great to discuss, and I hope it was good for you all to listen. If you have questions, please bring them to us. If this has been valuable to you, share it.
Thanks for listening for the last few seasons. We're excited to bring some new episodes next year. We'd love to hear what kind of things that you would love for us to discuss and talk about. So reach out to us on whatever platform you're listening to this. But
only if you have nice things to say.
Only
we
nice
have very,
things.
very fragile egos.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you love about us.
And we hope you really enjoy your summer. And like I said, this wasn't a critique for all the vacations that hopefully in time off you'll be taking. But we just hope to encourage you and exhort you to make all those plans with God in mind.
John, you have to include this. Mom, not all of my summers were boring as a child. I love you, and I think that my summers as a child, many of them were great. Bye.
We obviously exhort you and encourage you to have an amazing summer and to come back and listen to more episodes of Exhorter Podcast in the fall.
We promise they'll be even better next season.
More better podcasts.
You are guaranteed to get more benefit out of next season.
Guaranteed. Or your money back. Satisfaction guaranteed. We guarantee it. Is that how you say
it? Well, welcome to the
the Exhorter.
Welcome to the Extortion.
Where we have dirt on you.
Welcome to the Exhorter Podcast, where we take information that you don't want to be public. Kyle, those were great bite-sized Bible points to discuss. Well, Kyle, thanks for bringing a great topic to us today. It's been good to, if there's something you have a question about, reach out to us. And if there's something that you have a question about, reach out to us.
But what if they have a question?
I'm not sure what they should do then.
Unless it's a medical question, you should ask a doctor.
Oh, man. Kyle, this was a great topic. Thank you for bringing to it.
Yeah, it was a pretty good topic.
How many more minutes do we have?
It's more outtakes. Keep going.